They're all going through an emotional event. Whether it's emotionally traumatic is unique, and it depends on the person.
You'd have to prove that you were a victim of domestic violence to get that.
I would hope that anybody is now starting to be aware of signs of depression, and that people are really desperate and lonely at times.
So if someone brings proceedings against you without any evidence, you're going to have to defend it at your own cost.
Yes.
General awareness of each other, that one of the things that causes emotional trauma is relationship breakdown.
Legal aid is something that the government provides. It's funding for clients that are eligible to cover their legal costs for advice or representation in court.
Thinking about wasted years, regret, trying to find your identity again after being a couple for so long. It's really hard.
If you have chosen to separate, I would assume you would not want that person to benefit in the event of your death.
Humans aren't designed to be islands. We need connection.
So we're finding a lot at the moment, we're getting a lot of referrals from people who think they're eligible for legal aid. And I think it'd be interesting for the viewers to know what legal aid is.
Yeah, so legal aid is something that the government provides. It's funding for clients that are eligible to cover their legal costs for advice or representation in court.
Okay, so is that every type of case?
Not every type of case in family law. The main ones are domestic violence cases, so non-molestation orders, occupation orders, there's child arrangements orders, financial orders, and also care proceedings as well.
So if you're cohabiting with somebody, then you wouldn't be eligible for legal aid. Say, for example, you wanted to sell the property.
Yes, that's correct. That wouldn't come under legal aid.
Because a lot of people now aren't getting married, so it's interesting to know that they would have to fund, which can be expensive, court proceedings.
Yeah.
So how do you get legal aid? How do you qualify for it?
So there's a two-part test. There's the means aspect of it, which assesses your income, your savings and your assets. And then there's the merits aspect, which looks at the actual case itself and the strength of it and if it's an actual reasonable application. And then in some and most aspects, you have to provide evidence of either domestic violence or that the child is at risk.
So is that just a GP letter, or do you need a police crime reference number, or do you need more than that for violence?
So usually clients use a non-molestation order, a police caution, or you can get a letter referral from a domestic violence agency. They're the most common ones.
So as opposed to get that non-molestation order, you would have had to have proven to the court that there was a significant risk of harm.
Yes, definitely. You'd have to prove that you were a victim of domestic violence to get that.
And then you'd get legal aid. But what happens if you need legal aid in order to make that initial application?
So for non-molestation orders, to obtain legal aid, that is fine without the evidence of the domestic violence, non-molestation order, caution, etc. However, you would still need that referral from the domestic violence organisation, but then they would have to look at the strength of the case in more detail. So what actually happened, what were the incidents, how frequent were they, and what actually happened to you, to make sure that you would actually obtain get granted the non-molestation order.
So is it the case now they're getting a bit harsher now with giving out legal aid to people?
Yes, definitely. I think they're getting more restricted with how many certificates they give to firms as well.
Oh, right. Which isn't very good for people who are genuine victims. But there have been some abuse of the process. We unfortunately can see that quite a lot. And then you have people who have to defend those applications. Can they get legal aid?
So if you're a respondent for a non-molestation order, you can get legal aid if you can prove that you're also a victim. So in most cases, respondents don't usually get legal aid.
Wow. So if someone brings proceedings against you without any evidence, you're going to have to defend it at your own cost.
Yes, unfortunately.
It's harsh, isn't it? Mm-hmm. What happens if you're on benefits? Do they automatically qualify for legal
So
aid?
they don't automatically qualify. That comes under the means and merits test that the legal aid look at. So they would have to look at what types of benefits you receive and also what other income you receive as well as the benefits.
Right. So if you had universal credit, do you automatically get it?
Yes, so universal credit is one of the qualifying benefits.
Anything else?
There's employment seekers allowance as well.
Right, okay. So that would automatically mean you get legal aid.
Yeah.
But you still have to be able to prove that there is abuse.
Yes, the domestic violence aspect
Yeah.
is always having to be proven.
And it doesn't always have to be violence. It can be emotional, can't it?
Yes.
Psychological or...
Yeah, so the different types of abuse would be considered. So it doesn't have to just be the typical physical violence. It can be emotional, financial as well.
Okay. And is it completely free?
No, it's not completely free. If your case has a aspect where you'd be obtaining assets or monies put at the end of the case, then legal aid could put a charge on that property. So, for example, if there was a family home and you were obtaining that at the end, they would put a charge on the property, which means that when you do sell the property, they would obtain a certain percentage of that. It's usually the amount of the certificate, which can be between 10 to 25,000 or more, depending on the severity of cases. And there's also an 8% interest rate on the statutory charge as well.
Does that keep going? Does that keep it increasing every year?
Yes, every year it's 8%.
Because they're not going to sell the property straight away, are they?
No,
So is that going to keep growing?
Yeah. So, for example, if there's a case where children are involved and the one parent has obtained the property and they're going to sell the property once the 5-year-old is 18, for the next 13 years, there will be that additional charge on top of whatever other fees they obtain when they sell the property that they would have to pay.
So that's going to eat into the equity substantially.
Yeah.
You're probably better off getting a credit card, I imagine.
Yeah,
Where
of
you
course.
can keep the minimum payments down, keep reducing the debt instead of having a large amount taken out.
Yeah, exactly.
end.
Because with the credit card, you can pay however much you want each month as well to try and reduce the balance that's accrued. Whereas with this, it will be in a lump sum at the end when the property is sold.
Right. That's really interesting. Thank you.